Sir, Gordon.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's call this meeting into order. Start off roll call, Kyle Rogers here, Chris Perry, Debbie C. McBride, Dylan Irwin,
Here.
Edward here, and myself, Daniel Burkhead, all present. Okay, item number 2 is approval of minutes from July 6th, or rather for today's meeting. I'll entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes for today.
Yes.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Item number 3, hearings. Let's get this rolling. Joe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would turn things over to the hearing officer, Mr. Jackson, and say we're going to take up the Justin Hall complaint first rather than the other complaint listed.
Okay, this is a little bit of an unconventional type of hearing, but we'll adjust accordingly. My name is Adam Jackson. I'm the hearing officer today in the matter of Justin Hall, which is to be heard before the Arkansas Home Inspectors Registration Board. Today is Wednesday, July 6, 2022. The attorney for Mr. Hall, please identify yourself for the record.
Harrison Kemp, I'm an attorney for Justin Hall.
Okay. Madam Court Reporter, can you hear me? All right. And if counsel for the board can identify yourself for the record.
Joe West, Assistant Attorney General on behalf of the board.
Okay, and my understanding, this has been remanded for constitutional argument, so I'm going to turn this back over to the attorneys to figure out how they want to shape this argument.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Kemp, you can jump in at any time. I'm going to try to lay out for the board what we got going on here today because this is an unusual circumstance. This isn't a matter of Justin Hall. There was a hearing on this case back on May the 5th of 2021. Actually, while I'm speaking, I'm going to hand out the documents pertaining to this case to the board members. And for the record, I've provided that to both Mr. Kemp and to the hearing officer, and I will provide the same to the court reporter and ask these to be introduced as board exhibit number 1, just for the record. Take one down. Order, be board exhibit 1. So this was the board, y'all made findings of fact and conclusions of law that Mr. Hall was in violation of a board rule for practicing without a license. Mr. Hall filed a timely appeal, which went to the Circuit Court of Pulaski County. And after a hearing in February, the circuit judge remanded the case back to the board to hear, number 1, hear arguments related to the constitutionality of Arkansas Code Annotated 1752-322, which is in your statute, your Practice Act, and also for y'all to address whether that statute applies to Mr. Hall. As far as constitutional arguments go, which Mr. Kemp will be making shortly, y'all do not have to make a ruling on the constitutionality of the statute today. That is not what the board is entitled to do or empowered to do. So constitutional arguments must be ruled on by the judge who hears the case on appeal, but in order for the judge to hear those arguments, they have to be put in the record today. Mr. Kemp will do that shortly. Additionally, based on your previous findings of fact and conclusions of law, we will address whether that statute 1752-322, y'all will have to make a ruling as to whether that applies to Mr. Hall or not. And after Mr. Kemp puts his arguments into the record, I'll jump back with that. And just again for the record, I know many, I believe, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McBride, you're the only 2 remaining board members who heard this case originally when it was before the board back last year. So I know I've discussed this with Mr. Kemp as well, that y'all were allowed to review record of the previous hearing to try to refresh the recollections of those who were there and to kind of give the new board members an idea of what happened. I've discussed that with you previously as well. I guess, Mr. Kent, if you want to put your argument in the record.
Sure, and for clarification too, as far as the respondents, respondent here, Mr. Hall's understanding of what's at stake today, we're not relitigating the order that has already been entered. The issue that was, some of the legal issues and challenges that were raised in the appeal above were argued not to have been properly vetted before the board. And so we were remanded back just to make this record, as Mr. West has just indicated. My understanding is just, we're not asking you to revisit whether or not you found a violation, only that I make these constitutional arguments. We'll go back to the circuit court. My understanding of the board's order is that the board found Mr. Hall guilty of or had violated board rule 301A for practicing home inspection without a license, without having registered as a home inspector. The board's conclusion in that regard appears to have been based on application of the definition of home inspection set out in what's authorized statute. I think it's 303.4, 1752, 303.4, which defines home inspection as a visual inspection of a residential unit and its attached carports, garages, and the operation of the building's systems by using the controls normally operated by the owner. Mr. Hall argued at the earlier board hearing, presented evidence about his licensure as a professional engineer and suggested that by virtue of his licensure as a professional engineer, that he did not need to register under the Home Inspector Registration Act. And while I think the board sort of de facto ruled on his argument that that exemption applied to him, it was not expressly stated, and that, Mr. West, is what I think is the meaning of the very last section of the sentence, number 2, just being expressed ruling on that applicability of that exemption to Mr. Hall. To the extent that the board concluded before and affirms the conclusion today that that exemption does not apply, Mr. Hall would submit that creates an ambiguity in the law and an uncertainty in the law.
Yes.
Creates an ambiguity and uncertainty in the law that is unconstitutional. Mr. Hall has a liberty interest in his ability to practice his profession as a professional engineer and a property interest in that. If the board's action deprives him of that ability or penalizes him for engaging in that conduct under the procedure that is set out in the board's enabling statute and board's rules, he is entitled under the Constitution of the State of Arkansas and the United States to due process of law and equal protection of the law, and the manner in which that those rights are sort of made manifest practically is that he has to be put on notice effectively and sufficiently to know what conduct is proscribed and what is permitted, and the plain language of the statute as it's written, he argues, should mean that he is exempted from the registration. However, if the board concludes in its action that that exemption does not apply to him, then he argues that that statute is unconstitutionally vague and it should be declared to be void, at least as applied to him and other professional engineers, because he cannot, and they cannot ascertain from the face of it that conduct which is proscribed, which is permitted. To the extent that Mr. Hall was found to be engaging in something that was home inspection at the previous board hearing, it's my understanding that that was predicated upon activities that had occurred 2006 to 2018. And my understanding is that the undisputed record below is that Mr. Hall had a professional engineering license throughout that relevant time period. The only time period for which this board could consider the exemption application. And so we contend that the exemption applies, but if the exemption doesn't apply, then we ask the board to find that the statute is the statute or rule defining home inspection, requiring registration to engage in home inspection of someone who is otherwise licensed to engage in engineering activity. It's unconstitutional.
In response to Mr. Kemp's argument, I'll say number one. First off, I'll read the exemption at hand. It is 1752-322. The statute is titled exemptions, and section B is the section at hand that is really, or subsection B, excuse me, is the section at hand. This subchapter shall not apply to, one, any person holding a valid registration certificate or license issued by the state if that person's activity is limited to the activity authorized by his or her registration certificate or license. Two, a person who inspects his or her own home. Or three, a public entity that inspects its residential units with its own personnel specifically trained for the home inspection. I think Mr. Kemp would agree that it's not subsections B2 or 3 that applies. We're talking solely about B1. Any person holding a valid registration certificate or license issued by the state if the person's activity is limited to the activity authorized by his or her registration certificate or license. And I don't think it's disputed that Mr. Hall held a valid engineering license at the time of the incidents that were brought before the board in 2021. I know that there's other litigation going on with that, but I'm under the impression that his license is now valid with the engineering board. Mr. Kemp, am I correct in that? You are. Okay. So we're not even going to talk about whether he was or wasn't licensed. I think everything at hand, even especially in the record that was before the board, he held an engineering license. I'm not disputing that. I don't think there was any dispute. But additionally, there is no dispute that he did not hold a license for registration from this board, even though he previously had. And he's arguing that his valid license from the engineering board gives him the exemption in 1752-322B1. He's arguing that he is practicing engineering. His inspections were merely inspections done in his capacity as an engineer. And looking at what's already been introduced into the record, I just don't think that exemption applies. And referring back to the documents that are already in the record, I do have this available if anyone wants to look at it. Board's Exhibit 4 is a inspection report from Mr. Hall that's dated March 27th, 2018. And, you know, I'm not a licensed home inspector like most of y'all on the board are, but I have in my time been involved in real estate transactions, bought and sold homes. I've seen what home inspection reports look like. Board's Exhibit 4 is a home inspection report. This is beyond what his scope of practice as an engineer is. He has moved beyond structural inspections. He is going into just a item by item inspection of a residence. That is not practicing engineering. That is practicing home inspection. The board has made a previous ruling on that as well in a 2010 complaint that is contained in exhibit number 3 from the board that's in the previous record. And at that time, the board specifically ruled that respondent is not exempt from Arkansas Code annotated 1752-301 et sec because respondent's conduct has not been limited to the activity authorized by his engineering license. So based on your past precedent, based on what is already in the record, I think the ruling needs from the board needs to be that this exemption does not apply. He's not a licensed home inspector. He went beyond his practice as an engineer. And that the exemption just does not apply. Additionally, I know it is beyond y'all's purview to make a ruling on the constitutionality of it, and this will eventually be fleshed out when it goes back before the court. But I would argue now briefly that the constitutionality argument that it is vague is the not a valid argument that it should fail before the circuit court as well. Is not vague as applied to Mr. Hall. He is a licensed engineer. This is not stepping into and interfering with his ability to practice as an engineer. The board has already found that he has been licensed as a home inspector. He advertises inspecting homes, inspecting residences. There's evidence in the record already showing an inspection that went beyond merely practicing engineering. It is not vague as applied to him, and it's additionally not vague as applied to engineers in general. Engineering has its own definition in the code. Home inspection has its own definition in the code. There may be some there's arguably overlap when there's a structural inspection, so to speak. But again, if you go beyond what is laid out in the engineering statute, start just doing general inspections, you cannot claim while just being an engineer. So I would submit that argument should fail as well.
The board, we need to make a decision on this again, I say.
Okay, let's take care of just a couple of housekeeping matters before y'all go into debate, any kind of debate on this. Any objection to that? The finding fact conclusions of law and the order being actually admitted as exhibit 1 didn't actually rule it, so it'll be admitted. And procedurally, I'm asking council whether y'all would just to, cross your T's, dot your I's. Should the record of the prior hearing be made an exhibit to this?
I don't know. I mean, it's already in the record at
Yeah.
circuit court level.
Okay.
I don't have an objection to it being included. I think.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of incorporated by reference to the fact that it's already been lodged at circuit court.
Gotcha.
I mean, I know, and I have access to it, Mr. Kent and Mr. Hall have access to that record. The board has reviewed that record.
Okay. So, Mr. Kemp, I'm an appellate attorney, so making a record clear is always one of my things. So just so that we're clear, the record we're referring to is the record lodged in case number 60 CV 21-3528. We'll just refer to it by reference that way.
Just to help the circuit court out.
Yeah.
Just for the record, that record was lodged with the court on August 27th, 2021.
All right, then I guess it is the constitutional arguments have been made. There's nothing really for the board to address on the constitutional argument itself. So it sounds like the board now has to, based on Circuit Judge Wendell Griffin's order, determine whether Arkansas Code annotated 1752-322 applies in this situation. So I'm going to remind the board that this hearing is conducted pursuant to the Administrative Procedures Act. And as such, all parts of these proceedings, including your deliberations, are subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and deliberations are open to the public. And of course, we're on Zoom here, and I think that meets that qualification. So I'm going to turn it back over to the board for its deliberations, and we'll go off the record for your deliberations and then come back on the record to put anything down formally.
Okay. So, What's your thoughts? Good to see you.
Any motion to open it? We argued this before in the original. There is no reference made here for his engineering license, it's strictly home inspection. Our rules and regulations about a home inspection, if we advertise or do, that is covered in our rules and regulations. This person was operating above and into our rules and regulations by doing a unit by unit inspection of homes. That's stated clearly. That's not overriding into anybody else. His license as a structural engineer has guidelines. Our rules and regulations have guidelines. If you cross over them, the board has jurisdiction. I believe that's stated very clear. Mr. Hall operating as an engineer structurally. That's not our call here. We're strictly on the home inspection side, and that's what this was brought about in the first hearing. He was operating as a home inspector, not licensed.
I can add a couple of things to that. Arkansas Code 17-52-315 in regards to application for registration. Mr. Hall done this in 2006 when he received his home inspector license. As part of that code, section C, following persons shall be exempt from any educational requirements for initial registration, but not for requirements concerning competency examination, whatever. He did all that. The only two exemptions they have there are city inspectors certified by ICC and also contractors who have a builder's license and have 10 years experience as a contractor. He meets neither one of those. The other thing is he's not obviously the only licensed engineer in the state, but he's the only one that is doing home inspections that we are aware of. He's the only one doing what he's calling his engineering inspections to the same format and complexity and systems and everything else outside of engineering as a home inspector.
I've got a question, Daniel, and I don't know if it can be asked, but my question is, as a PE, as a professional engineer, what is that's a broad term. What's his specific education, and what type of engineer is he? What's his education in? I don't, that, not that that really matters, but
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Did you read the Arkansas Code Annotation 1752-322 again?
All right. Code 1752-322 exemptions. Okay. Any person who by virtue of his or her employment by a public entity, municipality, does home inspection work for the agency shall not be required to be registered under this chapter if the home inspections are conducted with these that's it. Yeah. Number one is if it's solely for the benefit of that entity, okay, or two, for no compensation other than the employee's salary, obviously by that entity. Part B, this subchapter shall not apply to any person holding a valid registration certificate or license issued by the state if the person's activity is limited to the activity authorized by his or her registration certificate or license, if they're working just within their specific area. Number two, any person who inspects his or her own home, or that's not the case here, And number three, a public entity that inspects its residential units with its own personnel specifically trained for their own station. Obviously, 2 and 3, we know, you've already agreed there. So the question there is, was he doing his engineering inspections outside of his realm or scope, his scope? Anybody else? We need to come up with a decision there. Be a motion or no?
Put on the record.
You want to do it on the record or off the record?
You can do it partial off the record.
You'll have to do it formally on the record, but procedurally you can do it off the record first and then go back on the record and do the same thing.
Okay.
But formally, there does have to be some correct.
So off the record here.
Make a motion that our facts, all original hearing state that this is not
That he's
above
not.
our scope of this board to.
So when you're gonna state your motion, you're gonna state it as, the board finds that he is not exempt from that section. Correct?
Yes.
Second. Any other discussion on that? Okay, we're good. Dylan, you good?
I'm good. I agree.
Okay. Then let's go back on record.
We are back on the record for the board's vote in this matter.
Mr. McBride, state your motion again, please.
I make a motion that the board upholds its previous motion on this. Again, Mr. Hall is not exempt from advertising and doing home inspection as a licensed home inspector.
Have the motion on the floor. Have a second. Have a second by Mr. Perry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We still find the respondent not exempt from that. So he does regardless.
The record reflect that the decision by the board was unanimous. The board's counsel can reduce this to writing and serve upon all parties. Obviously, a copy to Mr. Kemp for his client, Mr. Hall. And again, for the purpose of the record, the respondent cares to appeal the decision, and appeal can be taken under any specific provisions relating to this board or under the Administrative Procedures Act found in Arkansas Code annotated 2515-201 et sec. And I'm just briefly looking at the court's order. This may go back up automatically since it's on there.
I believe that's correct, Mr. Jackson. Once we get the orders entered, get the transcripts ordered, I will lodge that with the court.
Yeah, it looks like based on the plain language reading of the remand order, it's remanded for the court or for the board to make this decision, then it'll go right back to the judge. Okay.
That's my understanding. That's your understanding as well.
So I guess ignore what I said about the appeal language. Just have it. All right, unless there's any other questions, concerns, or issues, the hearing is concluded and the record is closed in this matter.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
First time I've had a remand for a constitutional issue. So I'm sitting here figuring this out myself.
We made it complicated.
I actually do the training on this for.
You got something to talk about?
Yeah, I know. This is the first time I've ever had to deal with it.
Man, Thank you all.
It's nice to meet you, Mr. Kemp.
Yeah, let's take a quick recess so we can escort Mr. Kemp out. Charlotte's gonna walk him down. Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Sorry to make you all that walk.
There's a lot of rooms that thing.
You can be right here. Dan?
Or do not care about that.
Now, wherever the court reporter computer says is always what I say.
Might be able to,
You can take the table right there.
like I said, we could kind of turn this kind of facing this way, that way the camera
Yes.
sees him, y'all see him, court reporter sees him.
Yeah.
Very smart. There's actually a class on this one. Yeah, let's angle it. Camera, we go this way, you guys can all see him, and she can.
Come on, Rick, a little bit more.
You know. Yeah, so we're trying to get
the next year.
Face.
Thank you.
No, we can see you. See,
Okay.
I mean, you're far off.
Some people look better from 10,000 feet than it's not close.
Well, we're with the mask on, that's why nobody sees you too, because he looks better.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
That's why I prefer to be kind of as far away from the camera as possible, especially with an overhead light, so you don't get too much shine.
Exactly.
Shine.
Well, I do.
I understand.
That's polished.
There's some heads the Lord was proud of and others he's been here on that. It was something.
True story.
I was always told it's always gray matter fishing the herring on the school.
One line is good as another. When you're in the sand, boy. You're smarter than the rest.
Charlotte's getting her steps in today.
Came down yesterday. Got 40 at Fort Smith, Camp House 40. There's a section before you get to Conway, it's straight east-west. My car outdoor thermometer was like 103, 4, 5, 106. Get to Conway, it turns south, and then it started going back down to about 102.
It was a bad wreck in Benton this morning
Then
between Superior Street and Hospital, Walmart.
that they
Did you get in on that?
It was backed up when I got on the I-30 and 70, but I never saw anything
They
cause the backup.
one car burned up, a little black car, you couldn't even tell what it was burnt.
Yeah. He's at
And another one was loaded.
Yeah.
I took my grandson to therapy on the north side. I pulled up for about 7:30 and the blue lights, red light, they were just putting out the fire. Loading the cars up on the flatbed.
Okay. Charlotte is back.
Miss Judy back. Should be back.
Oh, that's right.
Was there anybody at the, like, for this hearing?
He's, I see.
Responded to-
Oh, respondents, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll get it to you in a minute after we introduce it to the record.
There water up there?
Yeah, you want me to get you one?
Sure.
Yeah, we take two. One,
There's also Pepsi and Sprite.
water.
No, I think I'll go get something good else. I'm up. I need to start going.
There, what they do, like, over, bro.
Charlie, you're saying that.
I guess it's Dad's party, but I guess.
The room temperature, so.
The room
You might
temperature.
want to stick with the water.
They've been here for a while.
You went and got that cup of coffee they was gonna charge you for, didn't it?
You don't know from the last meeting. A week ago.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How would you like to been up in an attic yesterday?
I was. And I did 2 home specials before I came down here.
No, I mean, before, while you're driving that one, two,
I have a picture of me being in an attic down in Fort Smith, back in 2012. And so you got that cross member, cross tie, holding the roof rafters up. I got my, collar shot, that's it. Got my laser thermometer on that, it's 156 degrees.
Dan, you need a copy of these too.
Fun fact, yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do y'all wear hard hats in head?
Well, I've got it all on the table of contents. It's got page numbers on it, so I may give you,
I get scars.
probably one just.
Oh, huh.
Okay.
I like it.
It's such a real soft,
Yeah.
long nails.
Yep,
That's how you know the nails are long enough.
yeah,
Came out with a bloody skull.
yep.
Oh, no, this was a 2x4.
This is just one?
Yeah.
And you never, we used to like this yesterday, you never hit your head softly, it's always full. Everything.
I've been, spent the last few months working under, in the crawl space under my house, trying to fix like air duct work. And I just nails like that from the floor down.
Yeah.
And though it's actually remarkably cool under there, most of the, there's so many holes in the ducts.
Exactly.
It's all under the
Exactly.
house. And I'm like, crap, I'm working down here, do I really want to fix
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Because the moment I get it fixed, it's in like 150 down here.
You know, I know when you take the cover off the crawl space to go in, you feel cool, and air rush out, like, oh, we got leaky ductwork.
Yeah, if I'm wearing glasses.
The problem is, I think my ductwork may be original to the house, and the house was 57. And there's a lot of leaking.
Well, you are lucky though that it was metal instead of the plastic.
Yeah,
The plastic, it wouldn't even be any of it left.
yeah, but it's, the metal's just all separating, and just the problem is I have to like crawl every square inch of it, like feeling along for where is the air coming out.
Get mastic or tape or something.
That's what I've been doing, is taping and, I've taken that, it's like the insulation stuff you technically wrap around maybe like a 2x4 for like wall studs, and I've been kind of like wrapping that around first and then duct taping over the top of it.
Did you use any metal screw?
No.
That's the reason why. And in all your education, nobody ever says that metal ductwork should be screwed together. But now if you go to heat and air school, they tell them every joint has to have at least 2 screws in it.
I thought it was 3.
I know it's 2, it may be 3.
Well, I didn't do any of this. I'm just fixing what was from,
Yeah, but
You know,
that's the
yeah.
problem. After time and vibration and air and blah, 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 it all separates.
yeah.
The insulation is not put on there to hold it together.
Unfortunately, that is what's holding it together.
That was my point.
Are you moving?
Norfolk.
That's personal interest.
Norfolk, they own it. North Little Rock. owns it.
She might be at the door coming back in. She locked out.
She's in this way.
Really? She's.
Fan.
All right, let-
Check with Little Rock Electric.
Hey, guys, let's go ahead and resume with this, okay? She left it recording, so we don't really have to wait on her at the moment. Ms. G, so let's go ahead and get this rolling, so we're not sitting here all day.
All right, ready?
Go ahead.
My name is Adam Jackson. I'm the hearing officer today in the matter of Michael Smith. Complaint number 202110-22, which is to be heard before the Arkansas Board of Home Inspection. Today is Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. With the respondent, Mr. Michael Smith, please identify yourself for the record. I think you're on Zoom. And you may still be muted.
You're going to unmute your mic there, Mr. Smith, if you can. If you can't, I'll have to unmute. All right, hold on.
You got it.
Look at there, I'm an IT guy. No, he needs to unmute it.
Okay, I just had something come up there.
Okay.
There we go.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Smith.
Michael Smith, home inspector, well, not lately, but here in Fort Smith. HI 1538.
Mr. Smith, are you represented by counsel today?
No,
Are you prepared to proceed in this matter?
yes,
And did you receive a copy of the order and notice of hearing?
yes.
Okay. The board's counsel, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Joe West, Assistant Attorney General, on behalf of the board.
For the benefit of anyone present today who may not have appeared in an administrative hearing, the board will base its decision solely on the evidence presented. This hearing is held under the Administrative Procedures Act, which means that the strict rules of evidence do not apply, and the parties will be given latitude in introducing evidence. This is to promote a fair hearing and provide the board with adequate information to make a decision. To ensure the efficiency of the proceeding, I will grant objections or caution the parties only as necessary. If there's anything that you have in your possession that you want the board to consider, you must offer it into evidence here today. All participants of the hearing should be aware that the proceedings are subject to the Freedom of Information Act. And as such, all parts of the hearing, including the deliberations of the board, are open to the public. It is important that all persons necessary to the hearing are in the room during the hearing. If a party, attorney, or board member needs to take a break or leave the room, advise me and we'll take a break in the proceedings. Mr. West, who are going to be your witnesses today?
Dan Smith and Charlotte London.
Okay. Mr. Smith, Ms. London. Mr. Mike Smith, will you be testifying today in this matter on your own behalf?
Yes,
Okay, I'm going to swear all three of you in at the same time. So you can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
Okay, let the record reflect all three witnesses have been sworn in. Are there any preliminary matters that need to be addressed?
Yes, Mr. Jackson, there is a 35-page document with a table of contents. It is an exhibit packet containing the board's exhibits for this hearing. And it has been emailed to Mr. Mike Smith already. And I believe it has been provided to Mr. Irwin by email with instructions not to open until we get to the hearing. So I would move at this time to introduce that document as board exhibit number 1, have it published to the board at this time.
Mr. Michael Smith, did you receive a copy of this packet?
Yes,
Do you have any objections about it being admitted?
no,
It shall be admitted at this time as exhibit number 1, the board's exhibit number 1, and should be published at this time.
had it. And Mr. Jackson, while these are being handed out, just for the record, the order of notice of hearing in the exhibit packet states the hearing date of June 8th. Obviously, today is July the 6th, 2022. This was continued at Mr. Smith's request to today.
Okay.
So that's,
By agreement between you and Mr. Smith, can that order and notice of hearing be amended?
sure.
Okay. Let the record reflect the order and notice of hearing has been agreed to be amended to today's date. Is that okay, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
I'm going to give the board about 5 minutes to look through this. Yes, 4 minutes, there's looking at it.
Almost done.
Anybody send any more time?
We're good.
Done. Council, you ready to proceed?
I'm ready, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Smith, you ready to proceed? May still be on mute. Mr. Smith, are you ready to proceed? Okay, he's on mute. I don't think he realizes it.
Unmuted. Sorry.
Okay, you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Council, like to make an opening statement?
I'll waive opening. I will ask that the board take judicial notice of its Practice Act and all promulgated rules.
So noted. Mr. Smith, would you like to make an opening statement now, or do you want to defer your opening statement to the start of your case?
I'll defer.
Council, you may proceed.
Thank you. Call Dan Smith. And Mr. Smith, for the record, you previously been sworn in as a witness.
Yes.
Will you
Yes.
state your name?
Or we're,
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, I'm referring to the witness, Dan Smith. Mr. Dan Smith, will you state your name for the record, please?
Dan Smith.
Right. And who is your current employer?
I work as an independent contractor with Authentic Inspection Services.
And so are you yourself a licensed home inspector?
No, I'm a former licensed home inspector.
How long did you hold that license?
5 years.
And in addition, you serve as the investigator for the Arkansas Home Inspector Registration Board?
Yes,
And how long have you served in that capacity?
3 years.
So in your capacity as investigator, did you investigate the complaint against the respondent, Mr. Michael Smith?
Yes,
And for the record, are you and the respondent related at all?
no.
Just wanted to clear that up. So, Mr. Dan Smith, let's look at, page number 9 in board exhibit packet number 1. Can you tell the board what that is?
This is the complaint form that was submitted by Sarah Swearingen, lodging the complaint against her home inspector, Michael Smith. And she detailed some issues that were found after the home inspection.
And I believe there's a date stamp of October 5th, 2021 is when the board received this complaint.
That's correct.
To your knowledge, is that an accurate record as to when the board received this complaint?
Yes.
What did Ms. Swearingen allege in her complaint against the respondent?
The main complaint was a low spot in the floor, in the living area. And she evidently questioned the home inspector after the inspection about the low spot. And, she was told that it was just normal settling for a house that age. And she evidently accepted that. And then her daughter and son-in-law moved into the house. They're concerned evidently with the low spot, had it checked from within the crawl space, determined that by a contractor determined that, well, the subfloor was cracked in that area. There were some other things that she mentioned, a cracked roof rafter and some damage around a commode that I didn't even consider because it would have been hidden at the time of the home inspection. The damage around the commode. It was only apparent after some flooring was removed.
And those, are you referring to pictures that are on 11 and 12 of the exhibit package that were provided by?
Yes, the top photo on page 11 clearly shows the cracked, broken subfloor. The second photo shows a picture of the cracked roof rafter in the attic.
And starting on page 13 and continuing to page 32 of the exhibit packet, that's an inspection report. Was that provided to you by Ms. Swearingen?
I received all the documents through the AHM office, but yes, I did receive that.
And when I say provided to you, I mean more generally provided to the
Yes,
board.
yes,
That she provided, that was in her original complaint.
yes.
Thank you. So there's that. And then the last thing I think she included was page number 33. You tell the board what page 33 is.
This is a letter dated September 2nd, 2021 from Sarah Swearingen to Michael Smith. And, she is listing, complaints that they have found. And it's fairly detailed. Quite frankly, it includes some items that was not the home inspector's fault. But, she did once again talk about the dip in the flooring in the living area.
And to your knowledge, did you receive a response to that letter? least that she received one before she filed a complaint.
I don't believe she ever received a response or a letter.
So that was the documents in the original complaint. Let's go back to page 7 of the exhibit packet. Pages 7 and 8 is a summary of the complaint. Did you prepare that document, Mr. Smith?
I did.
Is that an accurate summary of how you went about investigating the complaint?
Yes.
So after receiving the complaint, how did you proceed?
Well, I review all the documents, and I think the photo evidence was very clear that there was an issue with the subfloor that was not reported in the home inspection report.
Is it standard procedure for the board during the course of the investigation to request a response from the licensee who the complaint is filed against?
Yes,
And to your knowledge, was that request made of the respondent, Mr. Smith?
yes.
Did you ever see a response that the respondent provided?
No,
So is it fair to say you had to go about this investigation with no input from the respondent?
that is correct.
So you said you reviewed the documents, and I assume, would that include the inspection report?
Yes.
What did you find in the inspection report that was,
Well, I was specifically looking in the structural section of the report to see what was written up about the inspection in the crawl space. First thing I noticed was, there was no description of how crawl space was inspected. Now, there were some photos of the crawl space. So, I think it was pretty apparent that the home inspector did go under the house, but he didn't describe that as required. And there were no issues noted. In fact, he made, a positive comment that everything, looked good. So, by making that statement, the client would have felt like, well, this is good. I don't have any issues with the crawl space.
and in your opinion, that assessment was inaccurate?
Based on the photographs, said yes.
Anything else about the report you found needed to be called out?
Well, just the fact that, it did not describe the method that, how the attic or the crawl space was inspected.
And there's some standards of practice that have been promulgated into board rules that you referenced in the report. I think you just
Yes.
hit those again real quick.
Well, section 401.3, 1A1 states the inspector shall inspect the structural components, including the foundation framing. And, based on the photos submitted, this section of the standard was not followed. The inspection missed the broken subfloor and the cracked roof rafter in the attic. And then section 401.3 1B1 states the inspector shall describe the methods used to inspect underfloor, crawl space, and attic. And this section of the standards was not followed.
Anything else about this inspection report or about the complaint you want the board to be aware of?
No.
All right, I pass the witness at this time.
Mr. Mike Smith, do you have any questions for this witness?
No.
Does the board have any questions for this witness?
I have one question, sorry.
If you can identify yourself for the record and for the court reporter.
Kyle Rogers, board member. Did you go inside the house at the time? Did you go to the house at all?
No.
You did not go to the house, okay.
No.
Can I pause for a second? 1 second, please. Can we try to stabilize the camera and everybody be sure to speak up plenty loud? I know Mike and I are both trying to catch everything. We can hear it pretty good, but anyway, go ahead.
I just asked if the inspector had been to the house himself. You said no.
The investigator.
Investigator, sorry.
W.C. McBride, board member. Who furnished the pictures of the broken floor and the rafter?
The complainant.
Any other questions? Council, do you have any follow-up?
No redirect for Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mike Smith, do you have any further questions as a result of any of the board's questioning?
No.
Are you finished with this witness?
I finished, asked that he may stand down with reserve the right to recall if necessary.
Okay, sit down and reserve the right to recall. Call your next witness.
Call Charlotte London.
London? Be easier for her to be up here.
Yeah,
or-
probably. Where's he up here?
You can stand, stand down.
Bring your.
Camera stabilized. Council, you may proceed.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Charlotte London,
And Ms. London, for the record, you've previously been sworn in as a witness.
yes,
And Ms. London, who's your current employer?
the state of Arkansas,
And what do you do for the state?
administrator for the Home Inspectors Registration Board,
And how long have you held that position?
a little over 6 years,
And as the administrator for the board, are you the keeper of records for the board?
yes.
So we're here on Mr. Michael Smith. He holds, his license number is HI 1538. Can you tell the board what his current licensure status is?
It's currently suspended because of insurance. His insurance expired in December.
But has he submitted paperwork to renew?
Yes, he did renew his license for 2022, but I have not received his current insurance.
Well, that's State Farm again. I had no idea. Okay.
Mr. Smith, you'll get an opportunity in a minute to cross-examine this witness. And then following this witness, I'm assuming that as no further witnesses, you'll get an opportunity to testify on your own behalf. But right now,
I'm sorry.
for the board, it's okay, no problem. Counsel for the board is questioning this witness.
So moving on, Ms. London, can you tell the board what pages 34 and 35 of the exhibit packet are?
Page 34 is the notification letter that was sent to Mr. Smith, along with a copy of the complaint that was filed against him. And it was sent, well, twice. It's sent certified and by regular mail.
Did the regular mail ever return to you?
No,
And that the address that both letters were sent to, that 1320 South Albert Pike address, is that the address Mr. Smith has on file with the board?
yes,
That the certified mail on page 35, was that, I understand there are COVID protocols for the post office, but was that signed for, returned to you? there?
yes, that's correct.
And that was dated October the 25th.
Yes,
Did the board ever receive a response from Mr. Smith to this complaint?
no,
As a matter of fact, I'll ask you, did the board receive a response from Mr. Smith regarding this complaint at all prior to receiving the order, to him receiving the order notice of hearing?
No.
All right, that's all I have. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, I do not.
Does the board have any questions for this witness? See, okay, everybody shaking their head. Anything else, council?
No, I asked Ms. London to stand down.
You rest your case at this time?
Board rests.
Okay. Mr. Mike Smith, this is your opportunity to testify on your own behalf in this matter or call any witnesses.
Well, I really don't have much to say to defend myself. It's obvious that I missed something. I quit doing crawl spaces around the first of the year because of that. As far as no responses, I don't have any reasonable excuses or anything on that. Last year, I did have a ladder accident on a second level, not at work, but at home. That resulted in a shoulder surgery and carpal tunnel surgery. That was coming up around August, and then had a car wreck after that. And then there's no excuse or anything. It's obvious that I missed it from when I was up above. I did talk about the unevenness in the floor, and was where I was and where we were talking about. I showed her, I kind of bounced up and down and said, see, it's solid through here. It feels solid. It's obvious that I didn't go far enough. The shoulder issues and such, and then this caused me to quit doing crawl spaces. And right now I'm trying to find the information on everything. My wife and I also sold our business of 30 years, 7,000 square foot bed and breakfast, and we're still trying to get out of there, clean it up. But I've got boxes and boxes of stuff, and I've got a general idea where the board stuff is. But I've even got a check that got buried for a cashier's check for $500 to send back to the people. But other than that, I didn't cover myself properly. It was, there's nothing I can say. And at this time, I'm not doing any inspections and haven't for several months, mainly because of the sale of the house. And I had no idea about the insurance. That's supposed to be an automatic thing every year. I mean, I'm on automatic payments, so I don't know what's going on. But I will check that out. That's all.
Council, do you have any questions? Mr. Smith?
Briefly, Mr. Smith, this is Joe West, Board Legal Counsel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just have a few questions for the record. First off, I'm sorry to hear about all your issues with your health here.
Oh, well, that's part of life.
But glad you're at least well enough that you can join us via Zoom today. Real quick, so you do not dispute that you did not respond to the complaint when it was issued?
No.
Did you receive a copy of the complaint?
Yeah, it got buried, and then between the surgeries last year and some issues, I didn't ever got around to it. And then it got buried, and between inspections, my other job that I was doing, we owned a bed and breakfast 7 days a week, and just got buried and put back.
That's the only questions I have for Mr. Smith. I pass the witness.
Does the board have any questions? No questions. Mr. Smith, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't.
Do you rest your case at this time?
Yes.
Council, you have a closing argument?
I do. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we've got a case here today. I think it's fairly straightforward. You've heard the testimony from the board investigator. He reviewed it. His opinion that there were standards that were not followed. Additionally, it is undisputed that the respondent didn't bother to submit a response to the complaint as he is ordered by the board to do by your rules. You've heard the testimony of the respondent. I mean, he basically admits to everything. He's falling on his sword, and on both to the substantive violations and also the not responding. I direct you to page 4 of the exhibit packet. There are 3 charges there. Violation of board rule section 401.3.1.A1, missing the broken subfloor during the inspection of the residence. I think that's been proven. Charge 2, violation of 401.3.1.E1 by failing to describe the methods used to inspect the underfloor crawl space and attics in the inspection report. Again, that's not disputed and proven. And board rule section 501C being violated in charge 3. He didn't respond to the board within 14 days of receiving the complaint. You heard Ms. London's testimony. The certified mail was signed for on October the 25th, 2021. And as of this day, the board still hasn't received anything. I think there are 3 charges. Every single one of them has been proven. I would ask the board to make findings of fact that are consistent with allegations of fact A1 through A7 that's in the exhibit packet. I ask that you make findings that all 3 charges are proven as conclusions of law, and that you assess whatever penalty you deem necessary. I remind the board, going back to that order of notice of hearing, L5 on page 3 breaks down what your punishment ranges are. You can suspend, you can revoke the license, you can put Mr. Smith on probation. You can issue a fine of up to $1,000 per occurrence, and then the Administrative Procedures Act allows you to require additional education or other restrictions upon the license. It's well within your range. I don't believe that Mr. Smith has been before y'all before with the disciplinary finding to keep in mind or before. So it's something you should always keep in mind. But nevertheless, the violations are there, and the board staff has proven this case. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, would you like to make a closing argument?
No, I agree with everything.
Well, at this time, we'll go off the record for the board's recess for deliberations and decisions regarding finding of fact, conclusions of law, and any penalties to be handed down. Once the board reaches a decision, we'll go back on the record. And I'm going to step out the hallway and return this call.
Okay, so the board members, 3 charges in front of you there. Any discussion on these?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Were any of the crawl space pictures, did any of those come from Mr. Smith, or were all of those from post inspection?
Which picture? The one with shows the broken subfloor? There's only 2 crawl space pictures that I saw.
Right.
One came from the complainant. That's the one showing the broken subfloor. The other one is in the report, obviously coming from Mr. Smith.
Okay.
WC, what were you gonna say?
I want to ask one question. I mean, he's admitted to this complaint is Mr. Smith able to do home inspection work anymore?
His license suspended.
Well, but I'm just asking physically, that's my question in this. There's no detail that it was physically crawled under the house, crawled through the attic, and I see that as derelict of inspection of your license. It wasn't done, and if we're not able to do that,
So there's pictures where he obviously was there.
he was there, but they're
Not in the crawl space.
not in the crawl space.
So he has pictures in there.
There's one picture in the crawl.
Those are exact.
No, there's no.
Okay, show me.
That page
The one I saw in there looked like it was taken from the door.
And it right there.
It's page, I'm looking at it, it says examples of columns, example.
Yeah, but that's a picture of the crawl space. That's just an example.
The rafters, the roof joists, sheeting, none of that all has question marks about it.
Looking at angles, it looks like it
So-
could be crawl space.
Going back to these charges, we know he didn't do this stuff. We know he failed on these 3 charges.
He's admitted it.
Do we, let's talk about disciplinary action. Okay,
That kind of leans towards what my, as a board member, the way I'm looking at this, I'm thinking the revoking of the license. Revoke, I mean, it's suspended now, but revoke if it's not able to conduct business. But that's my, now, if he says he'll rehab and be available, then I will change that. But it's my thinking right now.
well, this was done, if I'm not mistaken by the dates, this was done before any of his shoulder surgery or injury, any of that.
It's just, it was gonna be crawl space. If you got this, then it will be crawl space.
Or rooftops.
And addicts or
In that aspect, you can't do an inspection.
that's my twist on this.
In his case, I mean, because I know some inspectors just don't want to do crawl spaces. So I'm just saying, like, in his, it's not it's because someone chooses not to do a crawl space inspection or an inspection that has, a house that has a crawl space doesn't mean that they are not competent to do a attic roof. But in this case,
According to the rules and our standards, that crawl space is part of the home inspection.
I know,
But you.
But
can
I'm
deny a
saying-
job.
he can deny it. Yeah, he can, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
he can deny it, he's just, like, that's where.
What happens when he denies the job, he shows up and there's a crawl space? Home buyers don't know what a crawl space is.
So based on his inspection, based on his inspection prior to his injuries, he didn't even state anything about the crawl space about if he even inspected or the attic.
And I think that's that's made note of in Daniel's report on it.
Correct.
It wasn't done to our standard, but my question today, this board looking at this, he's guilty on this, but should we suspend his or revoke his license? They're suspended right now. Should this board, for the protection of the public, stop him from doing home inspection without education and showing proof of?
He said he has already stopped doing inspections because of his physical condition.
But should that be,
Revocation, and then he has to come back in front of the board if he decides to start doing it again.
it would be revoked by the board to him educated coming back and being able to do it again.
Being able to physically do the inspection.
So
Suspension.
that's where I was going. So if it's revoked, what does it take to get a license back? Is it the same as being suspended?
I don't know.
If we suspend his license,
It's a bulldog question.
probate.
Do we have probation in our standards? Okay.
With provisions on supply
Yeah.
and inspection, so we can look at inspection. See how, if he's actually put in a mental inspection.
So you're thinking probation after the license gets thrown back out, do a probation period?
So how long you suspend his license?
Instead of suspension for a year or what? I see $4,400 worth of damage done on that.
That we didn't have anything to substantiate.
But it doesn't matter, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't do that. I'm just reading this.
Yeah, I'm saying.
The letter, the woman's complaining, he never answered that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand why she didn't file against D&O insurance, and that brings up another question.
It may not have had any insurance. Everyone has a hearing.
But that leaves it open to civil after us.
Okay. So let's pin this down. We know guilty basically on all three charges. Let's pin down our disciplinary actions regarding all three. Okay? So
Mr. Chris has an opinion.
Chris says probation. Suspension or no? No suspension. But probation. We get specifics on that. WC. Revocation. Revoke his license.
Yeah, I'm willing to go
I
either way.
don't know, I want to get them down here, we can talk about it. Anyone else? Dylan,
Yes, sir.
any opinion?
Um,
Chris says,
Pro- yeah, no, I heard all of that. Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna say probation, but a probationary period. If, you know, possible, fine, but, I don't want to go over the top. My main concern is going forward. If he continues to do home inspections, you know, if we can't get in the crawl space, maybe that would be a limitation for him, that maybe it would be a slab only home. But we've got to be able to, you know, to get to those areas, and you know, it just,
okay, probation. Go ahead.
Probation.
You said probation? Edward?
Say probation. He's already on suspension, right?
Yeah, correct. Suspended due to insurance.
Yeah.
Lapse. All right. All right. Let's talk about WC's thing for a second. Revoke license completely. No one else was filled for that. He, WC said he would entertain probation as well.
If-
So let's stick on probation. Okay? What kind of length of term are we looking at on probation? And what are the stipulations of that probation? You're requiring education, you're requiring reports to be turned in and reports submitted. Who's going to review those reports? The board as a whole. Probably. I mean, we can have Charlotte email on all of us. I'll review them. All right. I've got issues with this report already, so I know I'll have stuff. Okay. Well, how long probation are y'all considering?
1 year.
Here, 1 year. Would that be a fiscal year? You want to go to December of 2023?
That'd be fine either way.
So actually. 23.
How about 12 months after the insurance is brought back up?
That'll work.
12 months after insurance,
Reinstatement.
after reinstatement. Okay. Any education requirements?
I don't think that's necessary as long as he's got his CE, continuing education credits.
Agree or disagree with that?
Agree with that.
Agree.
Yeah.
Edward? Okay, WC.
He's got to have his 14 hours.
He's got to have his 14 hours anyway for CE.
That may not be.
Right. All right.
But we'll cover that with us.
That's part of the stipulations. We'll talk about that. All right. Now, let's get specific on this. Any monetary funds?
I see in the report stated 500. I think that's very minimal, but I'll go.
Did you say 500?
Yeah.
I'm in agreement.
Edward? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let me lay this out. Correct me if I'm wrong. probation period of 12 months after a reinstatement of license due to the insurance being lapsed. CE requirements as normally, but we also want to include at least 2 hours of a course on report writing, in addition to the regular 14 hours. Okay, and for report office. That can be online, whatever.
Right.
That can be in person. And then monetary fine of $500.
You said he's not done inspections for months. Does he plan on doing inspections in the future?
Working on that.
Yeah.
The other option of this is him suspending his license indefinitely until he's either healthy enough to do the inspections, right? Okay. Either case, the $500 fine is going to be applied.
All cases.
We're okay with that?
Yep.
Let's make that a motion.
Make that a motion.
Okay, so you're gonna make a motion. We're gonna put him on probation for 12 months upon receipt or reinstatement of his license to the insurance, current insurance. In addition to the standard 14-hour CE courses, at least 2 hours of a board-approved writing course.
Right.
On that writing course, I don't think that, I mean, if he can't, he may have a issue finding a one that's, if he can show proof that, you know, what I'm saying is being a Zoom call, I don't know if he can find specifically that one, but if he can show either via Internachi or ASHI or wherever a completion of that report, even if it's not monitored, you know, that, whatever.
It does not have to be interactive.
Okay,
That's why I didn't specify that, just a 2-hour course on report writing.
right. That sounds good.
Anything else to that motion, WC?
No. $500 fine.
The $500 fine, yes. Got a second on that motion?
Let's second.
Kyle seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now let's go back on the record. State the motion again.
Okay, we're back on the record in this matter.
You'll need-
I make a motion that we find Mr. Smith guilty on all 3 counts of that as conditions. We would make Mr. Smith be on probation for 12 months after the reinstatement of his license, of his insurance. And after that, 1-year probation, 12 months, the board would request copies of his reports. And part of that probation would be a 2-hour course on report writing to be made on top of his continuing 14 hours of education. And a fine of $500 be paid within 60 days. Within 60 days of this hearing.
All right, there's the motion. I have a second.
Point of clarification, as part of the motion, since all 3 charges proven, would that all necessarily follow that the allegations of fact are to be found true?
Yes. All facts in the allegations by this board deemed to be true.
Okay, I have a motion by WC. I have a second by Chris. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Let the record reflect the decision of the board is unanimous. Board's counsel can reduce the decision to writing and make or attempt service upon all parties. If the respondent cares to appeal the decision, the appeal can be taken under any specific provision relating to this board or under the Administrative Procedures Act and the Arkansas Code annotated 2515-201 et sec. If there are no other questions or comments, this hearing is concluded and the record is closed.
I do have another comment
Okay, yes.
for the respondent there, Mr. Smith. Since your health is an issue right now, you may consider going to inactive status.
Well,
Even if you go inactive, this fine still applies, and to get your license reinstated, you have to comply with everything we set forth. If your health is too severe that you think will not be going back to action at all, then you can consider to have your license revoked or however, so that it doesn't come back up.
okay, as far as physical, if anybody would have kept up with me in the last week and a half trying to get out of that house and trailer loads every day of trash and savers, the reason I quit doing the crawl spaces then was just to eliminate, cut down on the odds. Okay, I missed something. I realize that. And so let's just, take that out. As far as physically capable, yeah, I've got issues, but I'm more than glad to have to do any demonstration or anything else physically because I can, the surgeries took care of the issues. Yeah, physically, I'm fine. And as far as not doing crawl spaces, there's other inspectors out there that teach courses that no longer do crawl spaces. But that was just more of a preventative, not a, I can't do that. It's like, okay, yeah, I can do it. But if I didn't have the, comfort in my head that I wasn't going to miss something. And that's why I just kind of cut those back. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
So here's another question for you then, Mr. Smith. You get another complaint on something, say, in the kitchen, you're gonna cut out kitchens as well? You can only pare it down so far, and then it's no longer an inspection.
No,
All I'm saying is the board won't be nearly as lenient if it comes up again.
right. I understand. I'm,
In
as
the,
stupid as a lot of, oh, go ahead.
as a home inspector, if I miss something, I'm gonna educate myself a whole lot more that I don't miss it again. And I'm gonna do my best, do my due diligence to do it. I'm not gonna cut it out. That seems to be an easy way to get out. So you agree with what we're putting out as far as what we stated in here, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to put on the record that if you want to see me do jumping jacks, don't run anymore, but stretching, doing crawling, whatever, I can do all of that. It was just kind of a decision to kind of cut those back and out of the way. So, not that I'm afraid to do them. It's not that I won't do them or haven't done them. It was just basically raising the price when there's a crawl space, and that cut it out.
Okay. One more question from the board, I believe. Go ahead, Kyle.
My name is Kyle Rogers, and I was wondering, how do you know when a client calls you if there is a home inspection or a crawl space? How do you know if there is a crawl space?
Well, I address and I look at it and look at the information.
Because as a home inspector, I always ask people, is there a crawl space? And they say, I don't know.
Right.
No, I will
Well,
say, go ahead.
if I was to get there and there was a crawl space, I would do it. It's just that I raised the price on them so that, that's an extra $25 that puts me makes a difference.
Okay, so you still do them if you show up and there is one.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to sit there and go, no, didn't do the crawl space. Like I said, if somebody wants to come follow me, they can come follow me and see physically. It's just, Dylan,
what were you saying?
I was gonna say in Arkansas, normally what I do on home inspections is I will pull up the listing, whether it be Realtor.com, Zillow, whatever. Also, I'll pull up the tax records,
Right.
whether it be Ag Data Scout or AR County data in the state of Arkansas. They're either in one system or the other. Now, I cross-reference that information, and you normally you can see a foundation vent or something like that a lot of times in a listing photo, but on the tax records, it will show whether it's on elevated slab, pier and beam, whatever. That being said, not the tax information and the realtor information, the listing information is not always 100% accurate. But normally, if you look in those places, you can usually determine,
Yeah.
whether or not.
Okay, so
Right. And
Yeah.
after doing
the board has no more questions for the respondent, correct? Correct. Anybody else? Any more questions? All right. Wait.
The record is concluded in this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right. Are we done with the hearings? Okay, let's move on to item number 4 on the agenda, approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
You make a motion for what?
We approve it.
Approve March. Okay.
March.
I have a motion to approve March minutes. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. March minutes are approved.
Make a motion, we table April, May, and June minutes that are incomplete.
Okay. I have a motion to table. Have a second? I have a second by Edward. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Minutes are tabled. Moving on to item number 5, financials.
Make a motion, the financials are incomplete still, that we table.
Have a motion, we table the financials. Second. I have a second by Chris. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, status of complaints, appeals, hearings. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the agenda under A and all complaints, number 1, we just resolved today that we can now reveal that 2021-10-22 was the case against Mr. Michael Smith. Made his ruling on that. I'll prepare the order, get that to you, Mr. Chairman, to sign, so Charlotte can serve that on Mr. Smith. Number 2 under that, I believe that was dismissed by the board at the May meeting, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I think so.
With that, 2021 complaints are not completely closed out. We've still got some new 22 complaints that still need to be looks like sent out, I guess. I'm not seeing anything on any of those. Under here, we saw the hearings that we just did. As far as the Justin Hall case, kind of the roadmap on what's going to happen now. Going to do an order to memorialize what the decision the board made today. We're going to get a transcript from the court reporter, get that filed with the court clerk here in Pulaski County, and then just see what Judge Griffin wants to do with that case next. He had remanded it for the specific purpose y'all did today. We applied with what the judge wanted the board to do, so I'll keep you updated on that. That is the only thing. All case here in Pulaski County Circuit Court.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving on, item number 7, before we get to new applicants, let's take a 5-minute break. So y'all can go to the restroom.
You're welcome, Chris.
Chris.
Thank you.
You go to the bathroom. You can't make it back, but you go to the bathroom. Hey, call us when you get to the door if nobody's there.
Don't have a phone.
I'll leave one. I'm in a board meeting. Okay, was that 2:10 or 3:10? That did. Is it the attorney's office? Okay, it's Baxter Bill. Right? That's okay, Ray Baxter. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's 3:10. Okay. Yes. The address, yeah, sorry. Okay, when I get done with my meeting, I'll shoot you a text when I get back to it. Then. Okay, I'll meet you over. All right, thanks, sir. Bet. Hey, so. Okay, all right. Hey, Ms. Mona, this is Daniel Burkett. Hey, I sent you an invoice after I sent you the report. Did you get an email with that? There should have been a link on there to go onto the Square and pay that. It would have been the second email I sent you, but it would have came from Square, actually. Okay. Yeah, you should be able to go on there and do it. I can't take them over the phone, simply because I have to put it into my phone to do it. Does that make sense? So see if you can get it on there. If not, either give me a call or shoot me a text back. I'm in a meeting this morning, but I'll get back to you this afternoon. Sure. All right, yes, ma'am, thank you. I was just digging this up. He could just show. He just can't talk. He has some on camera. He should just sit up there and let them know. Just trying to hurry through. Yes.
You didn't crawl into the house, you didn't go in yet.
Is that
So those pictures were there. It's criminal. So,
Oh, he didn't just pull the shovel and start digging up. He got a tractor and start digging.
Bulldog, when we do this, can that be used in a civil case?
Oh, sure. They look, actually, they look highly upon that, from what I understand. So the board already found them guilty of something. It goes a long way.
Well, the legal bingo always said, well, you know, whatever the board finds, that's gonna be public record. But That was before we had an investigator and all the other stuff.
I think you're right there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely public record, and honestly, it should be published on your website once the order's done, so yeah. it's- Yeah. And there's a reason that y'all in pretty much every licensing board I can think of has something either in their statutes or your rules that says if you get a complaint filed against you, you have to respond. Period.
How does the real estate board look at
I mean, they actually, we have to respond to it. And they have to, I mean, they come, it just depends on how you get a lot of people who just go in there and complain about something. And they can dismiss it pretty quickly, but if it's substantial, they come to the office and they'll do an audit of files at the office. The investigator, it's more in-depth, but we have to respond, we cannot not respond to complaint. And why wouldn't you want to respond? I mean, it'd be like, because I mean, the thing is
You
that,
know, of course, I'm in Hot Springs.
if,
I wouldn't mind a house.
if, even if I haven't made a mistake, if someone's frustrated about something, and I haven't made a mistake, it's like, well,
Small.
I mean, I want you to be happy. And obviously, if I did make
I stopped by.
make amends, what if I didn't, I'll still do something to just make you happy, even if it wasn't my fault, even if it was someone else's fault, it's like, well, let's just make this person happy. And you, I mean, I think that
You're okay or whatever.
for
The
the,
problem was.
so real estate, we should do something
Yes.
pretty. All the complaints that come out, it's kind of like,
You can't say it's okay.
I always tell people when I get to
Pretty
inspection of a
apparent that
house,
there was
like the
neglect
opening
and-
is the size of the crawl space is in. I said,
someone not doing their job.
I can't go in there, and it's not because I won't fit, it's because when search and rescue puts my body on a stretcher to pull me back out because I'm dead, they take my body out, they cut a hole through the floor. That's why the opening has to be so big. Because they said, dead, what am I dead? So there's all sorts of things in the crawl space, that you call an inspector.
Carl, you're not supposed to die once you go across.
Yeah, but it does happen. All spaces and attics. Okay, great for those home inspectors. Everybody's back in, right?
Wait a minute, I want to ask about numbering.
Okay, go ahead.
Sent 2 emails, Charlotte.
Yes.
Are these numbers here the same as they were on our email?
What number?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Because I numbered mine 1, 2, 4,
How do you have yours?
and 1, 2, 4. Then I have David Kent, number 5.
David
See,
Kent is
Kent
number
is
4.
4.
Correct.
But on mine, it was number 5.
This is the way they're ordered. This is the way I'm gonna address it. They may have been swapped around a little bit. We'll see.
That's what I wrote down the Nelsons and then these 2 father sons. Those were 7 and 8.
Correct.
Just getting him an iPhone.
Norton
Those never cease.
shows Texas license,
Do like a elimination.
But-
Like
shows no,
2 people
who's
that
not,
aren't on that.
Right.
So I'm hoping that.
he has a license. to
Those-
go in the state. Where he was not marked.
They
But
are on-
it shows
They were his own-
no on the thing, and it showed he had a Texas license dated prior to it.
That's the father.
And showed no license.
So the other one might be part of an E&O. Might be covering.
By this Kent being number 5 on
Okay. Everyone's back in here, we're ready to get back in. Sorry, Joe, I was waiting for you to get up before I said that. Yeah. You need to do something? Okay. All right. Back on item number 7, review new applicants. We have 8 new applicants this month. We'll entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion, we approve David Bradley.
Barley,
Barley. Sorry. no.
Second.
all right, had motion and a second. Any discussion on David Barley? The only
No.
thing I have on him was the insurance shows PO box. We can fix that. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, David Barley is approved. Moving on, number 2.
Make a motion, we approve Andrew Carroll.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Again, I'll make the comment, his insurance has the PO box. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. Gentlemen, if you're on the line, stay on there till I finish with everyone. I have a comment to say to everyone. I'll only say it one time. Moving on to applicant number 3.
Make a motion, we approve William Collins.
I have a motion by WC. I have a second by Chris. Approve William Keith Collins. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Mr. Collins is approved as well. Stay on the line, please. Applicant number 4.
I make a motion, we approve David Kent.
I have a motion by WC. Do I have a second? I have a second by Chris. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Kent needs to be listed as an insured. He's not listed at the top or the bottom, just the business.
Hang on.
I got his new one in, his name is on it.
We have a new one.
Okay,
Look at it real quick. On the description of operations down the bottom.
That might be his old one. It should be in.
That one doesn't have. He's listed up here on top. He's listed as insured on the top.
okay, good deal.
Any other discussion? All in favor of approving Mr. David Kent, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Kent, stay on the line, please. Moving on, applicant number 5, Nelson Legowski.
Make a motion, we approve Nelson Lewowski.
Second.
I have a motion by WC, I have a second by Kyle. Any discussion?
Same thing for Mr. Kent. We need confirmation that he's the listed insured, top or bottom. And that's the only 2 that I found.
So that's
Yeah.
the company name. Here's this.
Yeah.
He is listed in the bottom.
Okay, I'll double check. Thank you.
Any other discussion of Mr. Legowski? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? He's not online anyway, I don't think. Okay, move on. Number 6, Billy Ray Norton.
Make a motion, we approve Billy Ray Norton.
I have a motion. I have a second by Chris. Any discussion?
Is he not registered for his license show in Texas? I don't have a copy of it. There's something about Texas and the license, it said he was not licensed in any other state, but
I don't see anything, here, I'll just look through this package. There's nothing in here about it. The, on his, when he took his test, that's on the place that says anything about Texas. That's just where he took the exam. No home inspector anywhere else, and no other licenses.
His wife said,
Mr. Norton, are you on the call? He is not.
maybe I missed that.
Yeah, I'm here. Here.
There he is.
Yes, what question you have?
Are you a licensed inspector in Texas?
I am not currently a licensed inspector in Texas. I have put in the application. I'm waiting to receive confirmation from them that I would be approved through them. I sent the insurance to y'all and them at the same time. I have not heard back from them yet through an email or any other thing. I asked.
But you applied to Texas.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
applied at the same time. Yes, I do not have confirmation that I am an inspector through them yet.
So you had applied to them and applied to us both at the same time. You've not been approved in Texas.
I have not been approved yet. I've sent them everything that they need, but I have not received confirmation through an email yet that I am ready to practice.
Okay, on the question, it said, were you licensed in any other state? And I saw the Texas,
Yes, sir.
and that was my only question. If you've not been approved there, you're not approved.
Correct.
Well, that was what I had asked Miss Charlotte, and she confirmed the same thing. Hey, you don't have a license yet, but I didn't want to lie about it. But, you know, it's just one of those deals. I'm sitting here looking at the emails right now. I haven't received one from them yet. I'm hoping to this week.
I just wondered why it was not marked that way, and that explains it, so
Yes, sir.
I'm taking care of.
Ms. Gordon, I got a question for you. So you state on your application that either you, your spouse, or someone in your immediate family is licensed in the state of Arkansas as real estate agent?
Yes, sir.
That your spouse?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
The only reason I ask is, you know, you're not gonna be able to do any inspections for her agency as well, correct? Not just her, but with her agency.
I was not aware of the agency. I was aware of not being able to do them for her or my son.
Correct. On our, I think it is on our website. One of the complaints that we had against the home inspector, it's been a couple of years now, but it's posted on the website for everyone to read. That was the finding for that. He was doing inspections for his wife and his wife's other agents within the company. And that was deemed to be a conflict of interest, both by the board's attorney and by the real estate commission attorney. So just keep that in mind and keep that arm's length distance. That's the biggest thing.
Well, I will agree. I will admit I was totally unaware of the agency part.
Yeah.
I will reread it. I don't doubt what you're telling me whatsoever.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion for Mr. Norton here? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Norton, stay on the line. I do have something to say to everyone there. All right, moving on. Applicant number 7, Brian Schaefer.
Make a motion, we approve Brian Schaefer.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second. I have a second by Chris. Any discussion?
I do appreciate Mr. Schaefer's letter. Thank you.
Was it Mr. Schaefer or was it Brian or James?
Brian.
Brian sent the letter.
Okay,
It's the father.
That's the father.
okay, so no. They also in the letter stated that make them better inspectors and anything they inspect as real estate agents, they have a interest in, they can't do home inspections, just like,
He's also a licensed contractor, same thing applies there. 1 year after he does any work on the house and a year prior to, so. Y'all just remember which hat you're wearing. You can't do work on the house you inspected prior to. You can't do work. Right. On the house. Just 2 year period. Year 4 year. Okay. Okay. Any other discussion on Brian Schaefer? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Mr. Brian Schaefer is approved. Stay on the line, please. Applicant number 8, James Schaefer.
make a motion, we approve James Schaefer.
Make a motion. I have a motion. I have a second. Have a second by Chris. Any discussion?
My discussion is a legal question. Can we approve a college degree with no high school?
The rule specifically states a high school diploma or a GED. I understand if he's got a college degree, he's probably got a high school,
I didn't,
but
I
it's
didn't
not
know.
listed on the application.
it's not listed, so
Application is incomplete.
can we do it with a college?
Right here specifically asks for high school, where to graduate and so forth. If they don't provide that, they have to provide a GED. He didn't, application's incomplete without a diploma or that part filled out.
You did send this college degree. Can't have one without the other, can you?
Not that I know.
So thanks to our ambiguous wording.
No, it's up to him. It's just the application, it just didn't fill it out. Mr. James Schaefer, you're online, right? There you are.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you attend high school?
So I attended part of my high school overseas when my parents were, my dad was in the US military. And so when we came back to the United States in Washington, we became homeschooled for the last 3 years. So I did get a GED, but finding that information was difficult. I wasn't able to go ahead and actually find the original GED documentation, and that's why I'd actually contacted and asked, can I just submit my Bachelor of Science? Because that's required to have you had to have a GED to get into the university.
Okay, I think, does that answer your question?
It's not mine, I'm just saying, is that application complete without it?
Well, if they don't have anything filled out on that, they can submit the GED. Was there a letter, an email, or anything here about that?
About his GED.
Right.
No.
But in the past, we have apparently accepted.
No, one a few years back had a GED, he had to pass his test and show us the GED. He wrote, was taking GED classes until it was actually passed and shown. I mean, but in my opinion, he's got a college degree, but
Right.
that's the reason I'm asking a legal question.
On which statute specifically?
I don't know, it's on the application. It has the document.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. James, my other question is regarding insurance letter, certificate of insurance. You're gonna be on the same insurance as your dad, I understand that. But according to the standard, not standards, but the rule, you have to have your home address listed on there.
Yes, sir.
You have the same home address as your dad?
Yes, sir. I live with my parents.
Okay.
So I used to be I was in medical school for 2 years and came back and I'm doing this. And because my parents are amazing parents, they're allowing me to stay with them.
Okay. That clarifies that.
Yep.
If you move out, you have to have two addresses on the policy, one for you and one for your father.
Right, and they can add that to the same policy letter, but in the bottom, on one of the bottom blocks. Just keep that in mind. If and when you do move out, you gotta have a separate, you have to have that on there, your home address. So,
Your rule says any new applicant shall have graduated from a state accredited high school or shall have earned a state accredited graduate equivalent to diploma GED. The board may require proof of the same. He didn't submit a GED, but he submitted something that goes above and beyond GED. If y'all wish to accept that, I think that's within your discretion.
okay. All right, legally we can take. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of Mr. James Schaefer, say aye. Any opposed? No.
Can we make that part of his? That we accepted that?
I would recommend that because the very next part of your rule of board discretion says applicants who do not meet all the requirements or qualifications may be approved for initial registration by the board, but detailed records and explanation must be made part of that person's registration packet. I don't think there's a question as to whether he's actually qualified or not. I think it's just record keeping. So I think if y'all want to make part of the record, you accept the proof of the diploma from the college in place of a GED. I think y'all can do that, but you just need to make a record of that.
I add to my motion that Mr. Schaefer, James Schaefer, college diploma overrides or supersedes a GED or high school diploma, and we accept that as proof of.
Okay, you amended your motion. Chris, the second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Gentlemen, if you were approved for a license today, please give Charlotte a week or a week and a half to get your cards in the mail. She will get them out as soon as possible. It may be the end of next week. If you have any questions, please don't call up here, send her emails. You can call me directly if you have a question. My information is on the board's website. Any questions? Thank you. Y'all have a good day. All right, moving on to item number 8, continuing education. WC.
Make a motion that we renew Red Victor A through F for credit hours.
Okay, I have a motion. To have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Kyle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving Red Vector for CE course renewals, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And y'all have to be smarter than the education person, because I did question inspecting and filling out the 4.4. Does anybody know what that was?
By a state required form.
No, the answer to your question is no. So they finally approved
Plumbing, electrical, structural,
HVAC,
and it's mechanical.
mechanical, that's worded.
But that's the 4 point. I looked at, I thought,
What is that?
what is this? And then I clicked on it and read through the core, and I thought, that makes a lot of sense. If you cover all 4 of those, unlike our hearing prior to, you've covered 4 major forms of inspecting a house. And they break that down. Do this on your checklist and pick. So I thought that was funny.
Okay. We have no pre-registration renewals there, so moving on to item number 9, new business. Benjamin Rivas, new licensee, has questions for the board regarding issues about his home inspector license and his wife having a real estate license as well. Mr. Ben, go ahead, sir.
Oh, good morning, guys. I'm not trying to be difficult. I understand I can't do it for my wife. My wife works for Century 21. Does that mean any Century 21 office I can't work for, I can't do inspections for, or is it just strictly the Campbell Group Century 21 office in Camden, Ohio? Or I'm sorry, Camden, Arkansas.
Is your wife a broker?
No, she is not.
See, the way I understand it, and our attorney will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. It's not all Century 21 offices, but it's gonna be the Century 21 offices that are under her broker. Okay?
Okay.
So-
So it's
If her brokers, what Century 21 office is she working for?
the Camden, Arkansas office.
Who's it?
I believe it's the Campbell Group.
Okay, so she could do inspections essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, for Century 21 United, Century 21 Parker and Stroggins. If it's not the same broker, it's considered a separate company.
But it says he has a financial interest in.
The reason that was written up the way it was written is because some agencies, brokers, all of the agents get some compensation due to the amount of closing and so forth. They kind of it's kind of like company owned. Julie said we can't specify that because we don't know all of them that do it. Some do, some don't. So it's a blanket coverage.
The words, if there's monetary gain,
Right.
to me, that was finding factor. If you make financial gain out of it, and me and you,
Don't even go there.
that's the financial gain part of it.
I understand.
So
it's
if his
also-
wife is not involved in
It is perception of that. It's all about perception and keeping an arm's length distance. Okay? The real estate commission agreed to the same thing, which is why that case, that's our precedent, and that's what we're going on. That's why I made a comment a little bit ago to the Shakers or the other one.
When was the case? How long ago was
2 years ago, 1 year ago. I found it. I'll say it. I'll give you that.
So it is a precedent
Yes.
for the home inspection registration board that inspectors that are married to realtors cannot do inspections for either their spouse or anybody in their spouse's company.
Correct.
Was there, is that the first time we've come across that?
It's the first time that we made a ruling on that. Yes.
What was the rule?
The rule was they can't do that.
So, but we haven't addressed it as far as like, if someone's doing that, and knowingly doing that.
We haven't gotten to that point, no.
Okay.
Usually because either there's not a complaint filed, or we simply don't know.
Okay.
And like I tell others, there needs to be a complaint filed. That's the only way we can
Okay.
follow up on
Okay.
anything.
That's, because that's what, I know.
That is not on our website anymore.
I know.
Yeah, it was there. And true involved. The problems, the complaints aren't on our board anymore. Or hang on, no. Send that out, just, I thought we had complaints on our website. We have, and that's why I keep telling people, go look at it, because they're on there.
This is a change, they got deleted.
Okay, we'll make that happen.
I've got another question for you guys if you have a moment.
Go ahead.
I know in my, I'm currently licensed, but not practicing up in Indiana. Up there, they have a a form that we can put in our pre-inspection documentation that basically allows the client to get notified of the possible relationship. Is that something that we could look into doing in the future? Basically advising the client so that we could open up the option of working for the other agents, since because I know in my wife's office, they don't have any bonuses, at least that I've been notified of, due to quotas or any of that. So I haven't seen or heard of any way that my wife could get compensated for the inspections I do for other agents, or even where it could be perceived. I get for now. I won't touch any of those transactions. But I'm just curious if there's a possibility of coming up with some type of waiver in the future that we could have clients sign stating that they understand that that might be a possibility.
That would be legal advice instead of just your current statutes. Advise the board against weighing in on that.
Worth these waiting to go.
I know, go ahead, tell him that.
Mr. Rivas, that would go beyond simply answering an inquiry about the board's statutes and rules. That would basically be like the board giving you legal advice, which goes beyond what the board can do. So I'm advising the board not weigh in on that. The current law is the current law. It is, and as a wise legal scholar once said, it is what it is at this point.
I got it. I spent too many years as a controller. I understand legalities. So, alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, remind me, Edward, I would. Okay, moving on to item number 2, the May MOU is due. There's a copy of that in your folder if you want to look over it. Remember that memorandum of understanding basically talk about our rent and so forth we pay every month. So we just have to give Charlotte approval to sign for that.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we pay the June 8th, 2022 bill statement.
Okay,
The Arkansas Department of Labor and License.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second. I have a second by Chris. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, Charlotte. Go ahead and do that. Thank you, ma'am. All right, item number 3, effective July 1st, rent increase for the office space. Okay, however, we don't know what it is yet. So we're not gonna have a choice. They're going to increase it. We're gonna pay it. Okay. All right, moving on to old business. Any website updates, issues, comments? Go ahead.
I went to search for an inspector and the whole thing is a mess.
Well, the good thing is now it's not in alphabetical order.
I like the alphabetical order.
I'm sorry,
What order is it in?
it's not.
I know.
That's one step closer to where it needs to be. My complaint was they can't search by county and we have to place our counties on our application. That's how we're distributed. I've already talked to Ken about that. Justin as well. It's all in the works. That's gonna happen, okay? So rolling that into item number 2 about the ELP should be up and running by August 1st. It's gonna be random by county.
So it's not gonna be out.
No, it's gonna be just like it was last time. There, and actually Ken showed me, and I'll be able to show you all the next meeting.
Last time. What? He said it's just like it was.
On our last website. So.
That was done.
Or when you search by county, you put in the county.
Oh, no,
it gains-
search by inspector.
Yeah, search by county, it gives a random.
Okay.
A random list every time it's different. Okay.
Right, on the master list before, they also had an option where the user could select a query by name or by HI number.
Yeah, we're adding that stuff. All that's gonna be back to where it was. Okay, they're working on that. with that being said, Justin, who is over that ELP, I'm gonna be getting with him later this week or first thing next week to kind of beta test the whole ELP deal. Make sure that we have the parameters in there that we need to. And once we know we got a working base, then I'm gonna get it open up to all the board members as well. So each one of you gets to go through and check stuff out. Okay, since we're gonna be the ones in there, both as a home inspector and as a board member, we want to run through and make sure everything works like it should. Okay, that's the updates on that. Did I miss anything, Sean? Ms. G, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
any questions?
I want to add to this also, the board hearing we had today.
Yes.
Can that be put, both of those on the website or it is public notice?
Yes.
And we, like the real estate agent deal, all that, we can make that available so we don't have people calling.
Yes, we'll be able to put any complaints and findings on our website, and we should have that anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, we will. It's on there now. You scroll down to the bottom, it's there. I did find it. But when I clicked on consent agreement or original complaint, it asked for a password and username. So it flywheel is what it told me. Anyway, you can look at that later.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, that should be available.
And we,
Yeah, because it is public. Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 11, administrator's update to the board members. Charlotte?
The same thing as far as legal reports, they're still being done. I don't change much on them. I'm kind of doing the same thing every week except for reports and end of year things. The insurance expiration letters for July were mailed on June 15th. And as far as the fiscal year end reports, let's see. The IT plan was completed on June 22nd and turned in. And the report on boards and commissions, that's due Friday, and that's what I'll be working on from today until Friday to get it turned in. And the year-end information, fiscal year-end information, that's just questions I get from DFNA. And I have to answer those. They send a spreadsheet with whatever information on it. And I have to answer their questions, and those will continue to come in for a while. And the state closing books, I'll start on that probably next week. And that's usually doing segments. And the last segment is usually in August, as far as the student. That's a huge, huge report. And other than that, that's it.
Okay. We don't have any registration renewals this year. We're done with that, hopefully. Next meeting right now is scheduled for August 3rd, 9:30. Going to be back in the 4th floor boardroom. Anything else?
1 second. Is it Haya? Is she, can she unmute? I don't know if she's still there or not.
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, so quick question. Are you the new secretary for Ari?
I am.
Excellent. I'm Dylan Irwin. I just wanted to introduce myself. Ben Trotter had made mention of that. Guys, it's pronounced Haya?
It is.
Excellent. So Ari has decided to have a paid position for secretary to allow for, because there's a lot of work that that goes into that. And Haya is just been elected to take over that position. So I'm excited to work with her.
Well, thank you. I'm still trying to figure out everything, so I'm getting
Excellent.
situated.
Awesome. Well, if you need anything, feel free to holler at me or anybody on the board or Charlotte, and I look forward to meeting you at some time in the future. Have a good one.
Okay, yeah. And I believe we got the approval from y'all to upload these meetings onto the RE website. So I'm going to coordinate that with our website administrator. And I just need to coordinate with Charlotte to find out where I can get the recordings to do that.
Right, yeah, I'm not for sure about that. And also keep in mind that, yeah, we are in the process of getting our website where it needs to be, but until we get the ELP up and everything, it's going to bear with us for a few months.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Not a problem.
All right, we'll hang up and let them finish up here.
Okay, thanks.
So y'all in your folder, you've got a list for the next board meetings. She has to schedule these so far out, so we can be sure to get a room. There's your dates: July, August, September, October, November, December, and January are all on there. Okay, those are subject to change, but that's where we're at right now.
Especially the December and January, because I put it the first Wednesday, normally it's the middle of the month,
Right.
but depending on how ELP goes.
Yeah, we may be, anyway. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Kyle makes motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a second by WC. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank y'all.
Thank you.
What did I put you on the PR one?
Oh, did you? Try to keep us on track, too.
And I was wanting to say.
No, let's see.